Hello friends. A common question people have about the Torah is whether or not the Torah was corrupted. Think about it. 3,300 years we have a document purportedly from Moshe Rabbeinu, from Moses, and we claim today that this document has not been corrupted, has remained unchanged since then. And over the centuries, the people were using very primitive methods of copying. There was no internet or no way of ensuring an accurate transmission of the Torah. How do we know that the Torah today that we have is the same Torah that we got at Mount Sinai 3,300 years ago? Now, why is this important? I think it's important because we believe, we claim as Jews, that the Torah is the blueprint for mankind. It's the manual of living that we steadfastly adhere to and take lessons from and model our lives after. And if it's not the same document, we're messed up. We got a problem. Houston, we have a problem. How do we know that the Torah was not corrupted? So I wanted to share with you today a little bit about the ordinances, the safety measures that are in place to ensure that Torah scrolls do not get corrupted. Everything is copied accurately. So number one, we know, everyone knows this, every Jew on the planet knows that there's 304,805 letters in every Torah scroll. If you are reading your Torah scroll by the bar or bat mitzvah in your shul this Shabbat, and you find that one of the letters, one of the 304,805 letters of the Torah is missing, the scribe forgot, or it got scratched off, or say two of the letters are touching, two neighboring letters are touching, that Torah scroll is invalidated. You have to stop reading, you have to put it away, and you have to pull out a new Torah, start from the beginning. You read from an invalid Torah. Now, you have a broken Torah, you cannot use it. And you have 6 months to fix it. If you don't fix it in 6 months, you have to bury it, you lost your investment. Torah scrolls today cost about, what, $30,000 to $50,000. So you make sure you fix them. So that's ordinance number one. Ordinance number one, we ensure that the Torah has to be steadily maintained as a kosher Torah, not missing any letters. Ordinance number two is that if you want to write a Torah scroll, you have to take an existing Torah scroll and copy from that scroll. You can't just open up a Chumash or go online or from memory to write a new Torah scroll. You have to write it from an existing one. So every scroll that we have was copied from an existing scroll. So we have a lot of measures in place to ensure that we transmit our scrolls to our children, to the next generation, in an accurate manner without any mistakes. But were we successful? Lots and lots of generations of turmoil, of exile, of expulsion, of prohibition against Torah study. Maybe we indeed messed up. Maybe there was a time where the Torah scrolls that we have today were modified, were abridged, were embellished, were expanded upon. Who knows? So there's a interesting case study that we could take from the Yemenite Jews. Now, the Jews went to Yemen, which is all the way in the bottom of the Arabian desert, Saudi Arabia, or actually for you, Saudi Arabia, all the way to the bottom, thin sliver, Yemen, Taiman. The Jews went there between the first and second temple period. So think of it as 2,400 years ago. And they were there totally isolated from the rest of the Jewish people for 2,400 years. And then in the 1950s and 60s, they were all airlifted to Israel, and they came to Israel with their families, and with their tefillin, and with their Torah scrolls. And then someone said, hey, they were living in isolation for 2,400 years. They have their Torah scrolls. We were separate from them 2,400 years. Let's compare and see if there are any discrepancies. So they found, indeed, 9 discrepancies. 9 places there were differences between our Torah scrolls and the Yemenite Torah scrolls. Not so much. You would think 9 out of 304,805. My mathematics isn't that sharp, but it's a very, very small percentage. Even less than 10%. Even less than 5%. Very, very small percentage. But 9 is still significant, you would think. It's still a lot. If you're missing one letter in the Torah, or one letter is touching the other letter, like we said, or chipped, or fractured, or injured, it's a incomplete Torah. So let's examine these 9 letters. It's interesting that none of these 9 letters where there's a difference between the Yemenite Torah and our Torah were actually letters that change the meaning of the word. Now what does that mean? How do you have a different letter and have the same meaning? What it means is that in the Hebrew language, we have no vowels. We have instead those nikudot on the bottom and top and around the letters. But that's an incorrect statement because we actually do have vowels. It's just sometimes we use vowels and sometimes we use the invisible nikudot. So like the Hebrew word yavo, will come, can be spelled either with a yud, a bet, and an aleph, or with a yud, a bet, a vav, and an aleph. The difference between the two words is that in one place, the vowel is actually in place, is a letter, and in another places the vowel is invisible. All 9 discrepancies that our Torah scrolls, ours, or mainstream Judaism's Torah scrolls had with the Yemenite scrolls were all in areas of vowels alone. Chaserot v'yiserot. Vowels. In some places, we had the vowel written out in the form of letter. They didn't. And some places, they had the vowel written out in the form of letter, and we didn't. But there was no differences even in words. Hence, we could see a great case study where the transmission of the Torah was done in an impeccable fashion, with absolutely no mistakes, or perhaps an infinitesimal amount of small minor discrepancies, and we can safely rest assured that the Torah that we have and the Torah that we're reading today is the same Torah that Jews across the world, across the centuries and the millennia have been reading, and the same Torah that the Jews got by Mount Sinai.